Welcome to the Love and Sex Today show with Dr. Doug Weiss. Doug has been healing hearts and relationships for decades. He's helped thousands of people release the shame and the guilt, restoring hope, helping people get free from addictions to enjoy a better sex and love life. Here he is, your host, Dr. Doug Weiss.
Welcome to Love and Sex Today. I am Dr. Doug Weiss, and I will be your host for our conversation. This is our 17th conversation. Never argue about sex. This is going to be a great podcast because so many couples struggle with arguing about how often and when and all that kind of stuff. This goes on for years and decades inside of a marriage, and it doesn't have to. Today, I'm going to help you never argue about sex. So you want to share this. You want all your friends to have a great sex life. We want you to be at peace and in harmony sexually. Now, before we do that, don't forget to go to loveandsextoday.com, subscribe there, write a review on iTunes, because that really helps people just celebrate what's going on here at Love and Sex Today. One of you will be selected for a private conversation with myself, and we will have a good time chatting about whatever you want to chat about. Also, get your free chapter on our webpage. Usually one of my books I've written will have a free chapter in there for you. I want to get right to the topic today because this is a hot one. I sit in my office week after week helping relationships repair. And one of the issues we have to deal with is sex. Okay? And I wouldn't want you to just think a moment. How would your life be different if you knew when sex was going to happen? If you knew kind of the frequency sex was going to happen, you were okay with that, and your spouse was okay with that, and there was peace about that. How would you like to be free from the games of going to bed early so I avoid him or her, or staying up and watching television or being on the computer for hours so that I can avoid sex? How would you like to avoid the manipulation that goes on inside of so many marriages about sex? That's not fun at all. I have couples every week deal with this. Now, this is coming from my book, Intimacy, A 100-Day Guide to Lasting Relationships. Fantastic book on marriage and how to have a great marriage. But in there's a chapter on sexual agreement, what we're going to talk about today. Also, another good book for sex is 5 Sex Languages. That book's amazing. And some of the key ingredients of what we're talking about is in there as well. So let's talk about not arguing about sex. Now, one of the things that you can do is set up a sexual agreement. Now, a sexual agreement is kind of where a couple maturely says, hey, I know when we walked down the aisle, we were going to have sex thousands of times. Now, think about that. That's just the way it is. You know, if you marry in your 20s, even if you marry in your 40s, you're going to have sex probably a good 1,000 times. So why do we want to argue about this? You know, you don't want to create systems where, you have to do X, Y, and Z to make sex happen. You need to be a good boy. You need to be a good girl. And if you're not a good boy or good girl, then you're not going to get your treat today. I can tell you that system sets up so much resentment and so much anger and hurt and misunderstanding and miscommunication. And it is not fun. So you do much better to be sexual adults, to be mature, and say, listen, you and I are going to have sex a lot. So let's start putting this together in a way that makes sense for our lifestyle, our stage of life, our age, our health, and really celebrate having sexuality. You know, we call this show Love and Sex Today. We want you to have a great love life. We want you to have a great sex life. We want you to have a great life. That's why we do this every single day, so you can have a quality of life that's better than the day before. So let's talk about a sexual agreement. Sexual agreement has 3 components to it. So let me walk through this with you as I would if I was at a marriage conference training thousands, or if I'm in my office training one couple. Very same process, very simple, but profound. The first thing you want to do, and this may be the challenge, is establish your frequency. How often do you want to have sex? Now, again, look at what's realistic. If you've got small kids or kids in school, you've got soccer and piano and karate lessons, and one of you sings in the choir, or you have a painting class or a yoga class, you got stuff going on. So think about that as well. Okay? Now, some people want to have more sex. That's fantastic. Some people need to look at the numbers and go, wait a minute, it looks like, maybe two, maybe three, if we can kind of, figure something out. So look at what's realistic and then talk about real numbers. Maybe one guy says, hey, twice a week is fine for me. And she's like, oh, I want four. Okay. Well, if she wants four and you want two, you can either negotiate to three and both live reasonably with that negotiation, or you can, on her week, go four, on his week, go two, however you want to do it. See, this is your sex agreement, no one else's. This will be unique to you. Now, once you do establish a number, one, two, three times a week or more, okay, and the number may be even unknown depending on the system. It can be as much as you want, depending on how you set this up. But you establish this. Now, one of the things that's really important is you both ask for sex. And in a future podcast, we'll talk about asking. And in the 5 sex language, I'll give you a whole chapters on asking and what that really is about, because depending on your person's sex language, how you ask is really, really important. But you're asking, both of you asking back and forth. Even if you're like, Dr. Weiss, I never say no. I never say no. Yes, but you never asked. So the other person never feels pursued. How lonely is that? You didn't promise to neglect them sexually. Okay, so you want to ask. So both of you should be asking equally. And this is not based on your personality. This is based on what's just equitable. Okay, both of you asking for sex is really important. Okay, so if you're not an asker, grow up in that area, ask. Okay, so once you establish your frequency, let's use a number 2 or 3 just for our conversation. For some of you, that'd be heaven. For some of you, that would really reduce your sex life. I don't want you to just, that's an example. Don't get anxiety. I can feel like you can get anxious about that. So then you create a system to manage that. Okay, so let me walk through what ideas other couples have had and been successful. Some people just pick days, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Those are good days for us. Let's work that. He'll initiate on Tuesday, she'll initiate on Thursday, he'll pick up Saturday. And that's the way they do it. And they just do that every week and they're good with it. It makes sense. They make time for it. They're rested. They don't do their intense aerobic workout that day. And they're ready for sex and they're going to have a good time. Okay, for some people, that'd be like really boring or they couldn't do that or too stringent. And that's okay. Everyone's different. So you come up with something different. Maybe you split the week in half. He gets half the week, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. She gets Thursday, Friday, Saturday. If they're doing 3 times a week, anybody can ask on Wednesday. That's all reasonable. Some people still want more spontaneity. That's fine. For that person, you can rotate weeks. She gets 1 week to ask. And when it's your week, you would ask at the frequency level that you've agreed to. Okay, so if you agreed to 3, you would ask 3 times. Okay, and asking really means asking. It's not rubbing your back or your head or your feet. It's saying, I would like to make love to you. It's really asking. So she would ask on her week, he would ask on her week. So if maybe he gets week 1 and 3 of the month and she gets week 2 and 4 and he picks up 5 and there's 5 weeks a month. Okay, great. Get it back and forth. So in that situation, say Bob and Sue, Bob would get, say, up to 3 days to initiate sex. Day 1, day 2, day 3. Now, once he initiates, it becomes Sue's turn the next day. So let's suppose it's Monday, he's good. Tuesday, he asks. And they have a great sexual encounter. They feel really good about each other. And the next day, it's Sue's turn. She can ask that very next day on Wednesday, or she could wait till Thursday or Friday. But by Friday night, that third day, she will ask Bob to be sexual again. And they'll have another great lovemaking session. And that'd be fantastic. Okay, but see, they're in peace about it. They both negotiated their number. They both negotiated how they want to ask each other as far as how often and how they're going to structure that. They created their system that they're going to manage sexuality. And if that sounds like out there for you, you got to manage everything in life. You got to manage your self-care, your workouts, your money, the children's schedule, when you get to bed, your entertainment, everything in life has some management aspect. And for those who think, well, sex you shouldn't have to talk about it. It should just happen. Well, maybe if you got 2 people who believe that and it's already working, don't mess with it. That's fantastic. You're intuitively having a sexual agreement. Most people need to communicate that. And some people even put it in writing so they understand each other. They put it in their phone, whatever they need to do on their calendar to make sure that sex is happening at the frequency. Now, the last part of a sexual agreement is important because some people still play games and they're immature sexually, and you want to stop that. So What you do is you set up a consequence. Each one of you, say Bob and Sue, Bob would say, okay, if I don't ask you for sex when I'm supposed to, or if I say no to you without a medical reason, I'll wash your car. I'll give you an hour massage. I will not have my coffee for 3 days, or I will make dinner for you, whatever. And then Sue also sets up a consequence for herself. Maybe I'll clean your car, or I will fire the housekeeper this week, or I will clean all the toilets, or I will give you a massage, or I will make your favorite meal and dessert. Okay, whatever. It doesn't really matter what the consequence is, as long as it's enough to say, I would rather have sex than do X. And what that does is it removes a lot of the manipulation that goes on with sex, and a lot of the all the emotion of it. Like, oh, you have to set the mood and do all that, and you want to make love. You know how to encourage your spouse, your partner, and if you don't, get the 5 sex languages books, because I teach you what their sex language is, and you can make sex amazing for them and for you. Educate yourselves in this area. We call the show Love and Sex Today because we really do want you to have a great sex life. We do want you to have a great love life, and we want you to have a great life in general. So that's why we cover all these amazing topics for you to just have that 10, 15 minutes of thought that can improve your life. So you establish your frequency with each other. You establish the management of it, how you're going to do it, and then you set up a consequence. And I can tell you, I have helped thousands, tens of thousands of couples set up sex agreements in marriage conferences and in my office. And it has brought all kinds of peace and stability to the area of sex in their marriage. So you deserve that in your marriage, but you're going to have to do the work. So you might need to get a paper and pen, get that all done. So please go to loveandsextoday.com, subscribe there, write a review. This one, we should get some reviews. We should get, wow, that really works, because it really does. Write us a review on iTunes, and one of you will be selected for that priceless conversation with yours truly, Dr. Doug Weiss, and we will have fun engaging on whatever topic you want to engage on. And also, there's a free chapter on the webpage. Remember to do that, and always have great love.
That's it for our episode of Love and Sex Today with Dr. Doug Weiss. Head on over to loveandsextoday.com and be sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes. When you do, and you post a review on iTunes, some lucky listener is going to win every single month a private confidential coaching call with Dr. Doug Weiss. Also, feel free to ask any question you like. You can push a button, speak your question, and Dr. Doug will answer your question in a future episode. So be sure to subscribe to the show. Doug's got some great gifts for you, and we will look forward to seeing you next time.